Welcome, traveller of the waking world. You have found your way to a quiet corner of the universe, a sanctuary suspended somewhere between the heavy velvet of the night sky and the soft, rhythmic hum of your own breathing. There is nothing you need to do here. No expectations to meet, no destinations to reach, no burdens to carry. The day has folded its wings, tucking away the noise and the light, leaving only this safe, expansive darkness in its wake. Let your eyes close, not with force, but with the gentle surrender of a heavy curtain falling upon a stage where the play has finally ended. Feel the space around you. Picture the room you're in not as a box of walls and windows, but as a capsule drifting slowly through a sea of stars. The air is cool and still, settling over your skin like a fine, protective mist. You are safe here. You are anchored. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the mattress. It is a good weight, a grounding heaviness that tells your muscles they are free to unspool. Imagine that gravity is a kind and gentle hand, pressing firmly against your shoulders, your hips, your ankles, whispering that it is okay to let go. It is okay to sink. As you lie here, floating in this private nebula of comfort, allow your mind to drift away from the ticking of the clock. Time here is not measured in seconds or minutes, but in the slow, tidal pull of relaxation. You're about to embark on a journey through the landscapes of slumber, wandering through the garden of secrets that sleep keeps hidden behind its gates. We will float down a long, winding river of knowledge, simply observing, never memorizing. Let the words wash over you like warm water. If you drift off, if the sound of my voice becomes nothing more than a distant hum, then you have arrived exactly where you're meant to be. Relax your jaw, soften the space between your eyebrows, unclench your hands. The journey begins now, in the quiet heart of the night. Imagine, if you will, a vast and ancient library spanning the length of a horizon you cannot see. This library represents the timeline of a human life. As you walk through these hallowed halls, you notice that fully 1/3 of the shelves are dedicated to a single, mysterious subject. It is a profound realization to visualize that we spend approximately 1/3 of our entire existence in the realm of sleep. If you were to live to be 90 years old, 30 of those years would have been spent drifting in the ether of the dream world. It is not lost time, nor is it a void. Rather, it is a second life, a shadow kingdom where we reign supreme, untethered by the laws of physics or society. Picture this span of time not as emptiness, but as a rich, velvety tapestry woven with threads of restoration and magic. While the sun dictates the rhythms of our waking hours, our work, our loves, our movements, the moon governs this massive portion of our being. Think of the sheer scale of it. Years upon years spent in the cocoon of sheets and pillows. It suggests that sleep is not merely a pause button, but a destination in itself. It is a continent we visit nightly, a place as real and vital as the ground beneath your feet during the day. As you lie there now, you're stepping back into this vast inheritance of time, claiming your place in the quiet third of your history, surrendering to the natural order that demands we return to the dark to find our light. From this landscape of time, our attention shifts inward, flowing like a subterranean river into the microscopic world within. Visualize the intricate, glowing city of your own brain. For centuries it was believed that this complex machinery simply shut down at night, like a factory turning off its lights. But now, imagine that as the lamps of consciousness dim, a different crew emerges. There is a gentle, rhythmic pulsing that begins deep within the tissues of your mind. This is the glymphatic system, a beautiful, fluid mechanism that functions like a nightly tide. Picture clear, cool water washing over a smooth stone shore. During the day, your brain cells are packed tightly together, bustling with activity. But as you succumb to sleep, they shrink back, creating space. Into this space rushes a cleansing fluid, washing away the dust and debris of the day's thinking. It is a physical act of purification. Imagine this fluid moving through you right now, a gentle rhythmic washing, clearing out the tangled thoughts, the stress, the molecular waste that clouds the mind. It is as if a gentle rain is falling inside your head, washing the streets clean, preparing them for the sunshine of tomorrow. This is why you wake up feeling renewed. You have literally been washed clean by the tides of your own biology, a nightly baptism in the waters of rest. Drifting away from the shores of the mind, we find ourselves floating on the surface of a vast, calm ocean. Here, we look to the natural world for a reflection of our own need for safety. Bobbing gently in the kelp forests of the northern Pacific, we see the sea otters. Envision them floating on their backs, their fur dry and warm despite the water, looking up at the same stars that watch over you. As they prepare to sleep, they perform a ritual of heartbreaking tenderness and practicality. They reach out and hold hands, visualize this connection, paw in paw, creating a living raft. They wrap themselves in strands of giant kelp, anchoring themselves against the drift of the current so that they do not wake up alone, lost at sea. It is a profound image of the universal need for security during sleep. Just as you are nestled under your covers, anchored by the weight of your blankets, these creatures are anchored by touch and by the earth itself. It reminds us that sleep is a vulnerable state, one where we must trust in our environment and our companions. Feel that sense of connection now, the invisible hands holding you in place, the kelp of your comfort wrapping around you, ensuring that you will not drift too far into the deep, that you're tethered to safety, held by the gravity of the earth and the warmth of the night. As we float on this imaginary ocean, the light of the moon reflects upon the water, casting a silver bridge across the ripples. The connection between the lunar cycle and our slumber is ancient, woven into the very marrow of our bones. Even in our modern world, with our blackout curtains and artificial lights, the moon still sings a silent song to our internal clocks. Visualize the full moon, bright and luminous, hanging like a lantern in the velvet sky. It has been whispered and observed that when the moon is full, we naturally take longer to fall asleep, and our sleep is lighter, as if a part of us is keeping watch. Think of our ancestors, sleeping under the open sky or in caves where the moonlight could filter in. The brightness of a full moon was a signal, a change in the environment that the primal brain still recognizes. It is a gravitational pull, a tidal force on the waters of our own bodies. Even if you cannot see the moon tonight, its phase exerts a subtle influence, a gentle tug on the tides of your dreams. It connects you to the cosmos, reminding you that you are a celestial being, influenced by the orbits of planets and satellites. Let this thought comfort you, that your sleep is part of a cosmic dance, a rhythm that has been beating since the Earth was young, rising and falling with the waxing and waning of the night's guardian. The air around us shifts now, bringing with it a refreshing coolness. You may have noticed that it is difficult to sleep when the air is heavy and hot, stifling the breath. There is a biological symphony that requires a drop in temperature to begin its first movement. Visualize the sun setting on a desert landscape, the heat radiating off the rocks and escaping into the atmosphere, leaving the ground cool to the touch. Your body mimics this cooling earth. For you to enter the deepest, most restorative valleys of sleep, your core body temperature must drop. Imagine a cool, gentle breeze flowing through your window, carrying the scent of night-blooming jasmine or rain-soaked earth. It caresses your skin, signaling to your internal thermostat that it is time to hibernate. This is why we seek the cold side of the pillow, why we crave the weight of a blanket while leaving a foot exposed to the air. It is a delicate balancing act of thermodynamics. Envision your body as a glowing ember that is slowly, pleasantly cooling down, dimming its intense heat to a soft, warm glow. This cooling is the physical manifestation of letting go, of turning down the energy of the day to preserve it for the morning. Feel the coolness of the sheets against your skin now, a soothing balm that invites the heaviness of sleep to settle into your bones. From the cool air, we turn our gaze to a single, flickering candle in a window, representing the unique defiance of the human spirit. In the entire animal kingdom, spanning from the great elephants of the savannah to the tiny mice in the fields, humans are the only creatures who willingly delay sleep. Visualize a wolf in the wild. When it's tired, it curls up and sleeps. It does not bargain with the night. But we, with our complex minds and our desire for more time, often push back the tide. We stay awake for stories, for firelight, for the company of others, or simply to inhabit the quiet sovereignty of the night. It is a romantic, albeit exhausting trait. It speaks to our desire to conquer nature, to extend our consciousness beyond the limits of the sun. But tonight, there is no need to delay. Tonight, we surrender. We acknowledge this unique ability to choose, and we make the choice to rest. Visualize yourself extinguishing that candle, blowing out the flame of resistance. Watch the smoke curl up into the darkness, signaling the end of the struggle. You're rejoining the rest of the animal kingdom now, listening to the primal wisdom that says when the eyelids are heavy, one must close them. There is no victory in staying awake, only in the sweet surrender to the calling of the void. As the darkness deepens, the screen of the mind flickers to life. But what colours do you see? Step into a vintage cinema, the air smelling of popcorn and velvet dust. The projector hums, casting a beam of light through the dark. For a long time, in the era of black and white television, it was believed, and experienced by many, that the majority of people dreamed in grayscale. The media we consumed seeped into our subconscious, painting our nightly visions in shades of silver, charcoal and slate. Visualize a dreamscape made entirely of shadows and light, like an old noir film. The rain is sleek and black, the fog is a luminous white. It is a beautiful, stark world. But as Technicolor entered our living rooms, the paintbrushes of our dreams were dipped in new hues. Now, we dream in vibrant reds, deep ocean blues, and forest greens. It is a testament to how malleable our minds are, how the waking world bleeds into the sleeping one. But perhaps tonight you can choose your palette. Maybe you wish to drift in a sea of soft pastels, or perhaps you find comfort in the simplicity of silver and grey. Let your mind's eye adjust the lens, softening the colours, muting the brightness, turning the world into a soft, hazy painting where the edges blur and the colours run together in a river of relaxation. Drifting further into the wild, we find ourselves gliding alongside a pod of dolphins cutting through the dark waters. They possess a secret that seems like magic to us. Because they must breathe consciously and remain alert for predators, they cannot shut down completely. Instead, they engage in unihemispheric sleep. Visualize the brain of a dolphin as a house with two wings. At night, they turn off the lights in the east wing, while the west wing stays illuminated, keeping watch. One eye closes, drifting into dreams, while the other remains open, staring into the deep blue. It is a state of being half here and half there, a twilight existence. While we humans generally sleep with our whole brains, there are times, perhaps when sleeping in a new or strange place, where a part of us remains a sentinel. But tonight, you're in your sanctuary. You're safe. You do not need to be the dolphin. You can turn off the lights in both wings of the house, walk through the imaginary corridors of your mind, flipping the switches one by one. The east wing goes dark, the west wing goes dark, the hall lights fade. There is no need for a sentry here. The doors are locked, the storm is outside, and you are free to descend completely into the wholeness of rest. As you descend, you may experience a sudden strange sensation, a feeling of tripping or falling, causing your body to twitch. This is the hypnic jerk, a universal phenomenon that bridges the gap between wakefulness and sleep. Visualize yourself walking along a soft, grassy path. You step off a curb you didn't see, and for a split second you tumble. It is a startling feeling, but let us reframe it. Some evolutionary theories suggest this is a ghost from our ancient past, when we slept in trees. The sensation of falling was a warning mechanism, a reflex to clamp our hands around a branch so we wouldn't plummet to the forest floor. It is a protective instinct, a reminder that your body is looking out for you, even as you lose control. It is the brain's way of asking, are you safe? Are you holding on? When you feel this, simply smile internally. Acknowledge the ancient guardian within your nervous system. Thank it for the check-in and softly whisper back, I am safe. I am not in a tree. I am in a bed of clouds. Let the sensation be the final signal that you are crossing the threshold, a gentle stumble into the velvet arms of sleep. And finally, we arrive at the gate of the great forgetting. Have you ever tried to catch the exact moment you fall asleep? It is like trying to catch fog with a net. One moment you're thinking, the next you're gone. We suffer from a benign form of amnesia every single night. We forget the transition. The brain stops recording the tape of memory minutes before we actually lose consciousness. Visualize a bridge shrouded in a beautiful thick mist. You're walking across it. On one side is the waking world with all its details and sharpness. On the other side is the dream world. As you walk into the mist, the path behind you disappears. You cannot see where you came from, and you cannot yet see where you're going. You're simply suspended in the white, soft nothingness. This amnesia is a gift. It allows us to start fresh. It severs the cord of the day so that we do not drag the anchor of the past into the freedom of the night. Accept this mystery. You will not know when you fall asleep. You will simply slip away, like a boat untying from the dock in the dead of night, drifting silently out into the open, starlit sea, leaving no wake behind. And as that boat drifts further from the harbour, severing the last rope that ties you to the waking world, a profound and protective stillness begins to saturate your physical form. We move now into the mystery of why you stay so still while your mind travels so far. Visualize a heavy, warm blanket made of lead and velvet, draped softly over your limbs. This is not a trap, but a biological embrace known as rematonia. When you enter the deepest, most vivid chambers of your dreams, your brain deftly disconnects the wiring to your muscles. It engages a safety lock, a master switch that ensures while you're flying over canyons or running through fields of tall grass in your dreams, your physical body remains safe, calm, and immobile in your bed. Imagine this mechanism as a guardian standing at the doorway of your nervous system. It gently unplugs the cords of action, leaving only the cords of sensation and imagination intact. Without this paralysis, we would act out every movement of our nightly adventures, flailing and rising, breaking the spell of rest. So, if you ever wake and feel a momentary heaviness, a reluctance of the limbs to move, welcome it. It is the lingering touch of that guardian, the feeling of being deeply anchored so that your mind could soar without consequence. It is the body's way of saying, I will stay here and keep the vessel safe while you explore the stars. Feel that heaviness now, not as a weight that drags you down, but as a grounding force, rooting you to the mattress, allowing your spirit to be light as air. While your body lies anchored in this protective stillness, the voyage of sleep itself is not a straight line, but a rhythmic, undulating journey across a series of waves. We often think of sleep as a single, solid block of time, a monolith of darkness. But visualize the surface of the ocean again, watching the swells rise and fall. Your night is governed by the ultradian rhythm, a cycle that repeats approximately every 90 minutes. Like a submarine, you dive down into the deep, dark trenches of non-REM sleep, where the restoration is physical and the world is silent. Then you slowly rise toward the shimmering surface, entering the lighter, brighter waters of dreaming before diving back down again. Picture yourself riding these waves. You do not simply fall asleep and stay there, you travel. You cycle through these stages 4, perhaps 5 times a night. It is a series of distinct voyages, each one slightly different from the last. The first dive of the night is the deepest, exploring the abyssal plains where the body heals. As the night wears on and morning approaches, the dives become shallower. the time spent in the dream waters longer. This is why you're more likely to remember a dream just before the alarm rings. You are swimming close to the surface. Surrender to this rhythm. You're not stagnant. You're in constant fluid motion, carried by the tides of your own biology, drifting between the deep silence of the ocean floor and the sparkling chaos of the waves above. Deep within these cycles lies a paradoxical kingdom, a state of being that defies the logic of rest. We drift now into the realm of rapid eye movement. To the observer looking at your sleeping form, you appear completely at peace, a statue of tranquility. But if one were to look beneath the mask of the face, into the theatre of the brain, they would see a firework display of activity. During this phase, your brain is almost as active as it is when you are awake. It is a paradox of intense energy contained within absolute stillness. Visualize a grand movie theatre with the curtains drawn. The audience, your muscles, is asleep in the red velvet seats. But on the screen, a blockbuster is playing. Your eyes, hidden behind the shuttered lids, dart back and forth, tracking the action of a world that exists only for you. They move in sync with the hallucinations you are creating, watching the dream as if it were reality. This is the furnace of creativity, the forge where memories are welded together and emotions are processed. It is said that this is where the mind files away the library of the day, discarding the junk mail and binding the important moments into the hardcover books of long-term memory. Feel the gentle flutter of your eyelids, a subtle vibration that signals the projector is running, spinning the golden reels of your internal life while the rest of the world waits outside. As the projector hums and the movie plays, there are forces at work to ensure the show is not interrupted. Floating in the grey matter of your mind are tiny, electrical bursts, pulsating like microscopic stars. These are known as sleep spindles. Imagine them as small, energetic shields that flare up to protect your slumber from the noise of the outside world. When a car drives by, or a floorboard creaks, or the wind rattles the pane, your brain detects the intrusion. In response, the thalamus generates these rapid-fire bursts of rhythmic brain activity. Visualize a force field around your bed, shimmering and translucent. Every time a noise tries to penetrate this bubble to wake you, a sleep spindle sparks, neutralizing the sound, weaving it into the fabric of the background so that you remain undisturbed. It is a gatekeeper saying, "This noise is not important, stay under." Research suggests that the more of these sleep spindles a person produces, the more soundly they sleep in noisy environments. They are the guardians of continuity, stitching the night together so that the seam between one moment and the next remains unbroken. Trust in these sparks. They are patrolling the borders of your consciousness right now, standing guard against the chaos of the waking world, ensuring your sanctuary remains inviolate. In this sanctuary, as the guards patrol and the eyes dance, another sense quietly extinguishes its lantern. We drift to the concept of the olfactory void. The sense of smell is the only one of our five senses that does not pass through the thalamus in the same way, and effectively it shuts down almost completely while we sleep. You could be lying in a field of blooming lavender, but once the heavy gates of slumber close, the scent fades into nothingness. Visualize your nose not as a tool for smelling, but simply as a rhythmic bellow for air. The part of your brain that processes aroma hangs up a closed sign. This is why we rely on smoke alarms. The smell of smoke alone will not rouse us from the deep valleys of rest. It is a profound vulnerability, but also a mercy. Imagine if every scent, the shifting smells of the house, the dust, the stale air, kept you alert. Instead, you're granted a sensory vacuum, a blank slate where the air is neutral and pure. It allows the brain to focus entirely on the internal work without being distracted by the chemistry of the air around you. Breathe in now and imagine the air has no quality other than coolness and life. It is smooth, clear, and invisible, a simple fuel for the engine of sleep, carrying no messages, only peace. From the silence of the senses, we drift back through the mists of history to a time when the night was broken in two. before the electric light bulb banished the shadows, it was common for humans to sleep in two distinct segments, separated by a quiet interlude known as the watch. Visualize a medieval village, the thatched roofs silvered by starlight. The people would sleep for 4 hours, then wake around midnight. This was not insomnia. It was a natural pause. During this hour of wakefulness, the world was incredibly intimate. People would tend to the fire, pray, write, or quietly converse with their loved ones in the dark. It was a sacred pocket of time, a secret existence between the two sleeps. Then they would return to bed for their second sleep, drifting off until dawn. If you ever find yourself waking in the middle of the night, do not fight it with anxiety. Do not check the clock. Simply visualize yourself as a traveller from that ancient time. You're merely observing the watch. It is a time for the dust to settle, for the soul to take a breath before diving back into the second ocean. See this wakefulness not as a failure, but as an echo of your ancestors, a quiet visit to the midnight hour that belongs only to you. Guiding us into these cycles, both ancient and modern, is a chemical messenger that shies away from the light. Deep in the centre of your brain lies the pineal gland, shaped like a tiny pine cone. As the sun dips below the horizon and shadows stretch across the floor, this gland begins to release melatonin. Visualize this hormone not as a clinical substance, but as a fine, purple mist that begins to cascade down your spine and through your veins. It is often called the Dracula of hormones because it only comes out in the dark. Electric light is its enemy. Light scatters the mist, dissolving the signal to rest. But in the dimness of your room, the mist thickens. It flows through your bloodstream like a slow-moving river, touching every cell, whispering the command, "It is time." It lowers your body temperature, softens your alertness, and pulls the eyelids down. Imagine this violet fog swirling around you now, rising from the floor, softening the edges of the furniture, blurring the line between you and the room. It is the physical manifestation of the night, a liquid darkness that fills you from the inside out, preparing the vessel for its long journey. But what happens when the journey ends abruptly? We have all felt the heavy, muddy sensation of waking up and feeling disoriented, as if we're moving through molasses. This is known as sleep inertia. Visualize a complex, massive computer system that runs an entire city. You cannot simply hit a button and have all the lights, traffic signals, and power grids come online instantly. It takes time for the systems to boot up. When you wake, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and logic, is the last to come online. It can take up to 30 minutes for the lights in that office to flicker on. That grogginess you feel is the sensation of a brain that is still half asleep. The motor regions might be awake, allowing you to walk, but the executive center is still under the covers. Be gentle with yourself in these moments. Do not demand instant clarity. Visualize your mind as a pond that has been stirred up. The silt is swirling, clouding the water. It takes time for the silt to settle and the water to become clear again. Allow the process to happen slowly. There is no rush. The clarity will come just as the sun inevitably burns off the morning fog. Let us drift away from the human experience for a moment and take flight on the wings of the albatross. These majestic wanderers of the ocean spend months, sometimes years, in the air without touching land. How do they sleep? They have mastered the art of sleeping on the wind. Visualize this great bird gliding over the infinite Pacific, wings locked in place by a special tendon catching the updrafts. While they soar, they engage in unihemispheric sleep, shutting down half of their brain for seconds at a time. They nap in the clouds. They dream while they fly. Picture the absolute freedom of that existence, to be supported entirely by the air, to rest while moving forward, to trust the wind so completely that you can close your eyes and let the currents carry you. You too can borrow this feeling. You do not need to stop your life to rest. You can find pockets of peace amidst the movement. Imagine your bed is that current of air holding you up effortlessly. You're gliding through the night, weightless and free, supported by the invisible forces of the universe, resting on the wing of the world as it spins through space. Finally, we turn our gaze inward again, to the silent construction crews that emerge when the consciousness fades. Sleep is the great healer, specifically for the casing that holds you together, your skin. It is during the deepest phases of sleep that the body releases a surge of growth hormone. This is the repair signal. Visualize millions of microscopic workers rappelling down the scaffolding of your cells. They're patching the microscopic tears, smoothing out the rough edges, rebuilding the collagen networks that give your skin its strength and elasticity. The term beauty sleep is not a myth. It is a biological reality. While you lie there, doing absolutely nothing, your body is knitting itself back together. It is increasing blood flow to the skin, delivering oxygen and nutrients, carrying away the toxins. Visualize a soft golden light permeating your skin, a healing glow that warms and repairs. Every minute you spend in this state adds to your vitality. You're not just resting, you're regenerating. You're being made new. The damage of the day, the sun, the wind, the stress, is being undone, stitch by stitch, in the quiet, dark workshop of the night. And as this repair work continues on the surface, knitting together the protective shield of your skin, a deeper, more silent mobilization is occurring within the fortress of your body. We drift now into the microscopic barracks of your immune system. Visualize a castle at night, the drawbridge raised, the moat still and glassy. While the kingdom sleeps, the castle guard becomes most active. It is during these hours of rest that your body produces and releases cytokines, a specific type of protein that targets infection and inflammation. They are the messengers of defense, moving silently through the bloodstream like sentries patrolling the ramparts. Imagine your T cells, the specialized warriors of your immune system. Research has shown that sleep makes these cells sticky. Visualize them as glowing orbs moving through your veins, possessing a special magnetic quality that allows them to latch onto viruses and bacteria with greater strength. When you are sleep deprived, these cells become slick and struggle to hold onto their targets, but tonight, as you rest, they are strong. They are adhesive. They are efficient. Visualize this internal army sweeping through the corridors of your body, repairing the breaches, neutralizing the threats, ensuring that the fortress is secure. You do not need to direct them. You do not need to worry. The very act of sleeping is an act of defiance against illness, a silent strengthening of the walls so that you may wake up invulnerable, ready to face the world with a shield that has been tempered in the fires of the night. This pressure to rest, to close the eyes and let the fortress work its magic, is not a random occurrence, but the result of a precise chemical hourglass turning within your brain. We turn our attention to a molecule called adenosine. From the moment you opened your eyes this morning, this chemical has been slowly accumulating in your system, grain by grain, like sand falling in an hourglass. It is the byproduct of being alive, of thinking, of moving. Every thought you had today, every step you took created a microscopic grain of this sleep pressure. Visualize this accumulation not as a burden, but as a gathering tide. In the morning, the tide is low and the sand is clear. But as the hours pass, the tide rises, heavier and deeper. By now, the levels of adenosine are high, pressing gently against the receptors in your brain, signaling that the capacity for wakefulness is full. This is the heavy, sweet sensation of drowsiness. It is a chemical embrace. When you sleep, the brain begins the work of clearing the sand away. It flushes out the adenosine, resetting the hourglass for tomorrow. If you were to fight it, you would only be carrying the weight of yesterday's sand. But you're not fighting. You're acknowledging the weight. You're letting the tide wash over you. Feel the satisfaction of that pressure, the knowledge that you have earned this rest, that the hourglass is full and must be turned over in the silence of the night. As the chemical tide rises, we become attuned to the sounds that accompany our journey. We often speak of white noise, the static of a detuned radio, but nature and the brain prefer a different hue. We drift now into the spectrum of pink noise. While white noise is equal intensity across all frequencies, a harsh hiss, pink noise is deeper, richer, and more balanced. It is the sound of heavy rain falling on a leafy canopy, the roar of a distant waterfall, or the steady rustling of wind through a pine forest. Visualize yourself in that forest now. The sound is not sharp, it is round and deep. Research suggests that pink noise synchronizes with your brainwaves when you're in deep, slow-wave sleep. It acts as a metronome for your resting mind. The brainwaves literally entrain to the rhythm of the rain. Imagine that sound wrapping around you, a blanket of acoustic velvet. It masks the sharp interruptions of the world, the car door slamming, the dog barking, smoothing them out into a continuous flowing river of sound. It creates a boundary of vibration. Let your mind tune into this imaginary frequency, the deep, rushing sound of the universe at peace, lulling your brain into its slowest, most restorative rhythm, washing away the jagged edges of silence with a soft, steady hum. Deep within that hum, in the mysterious borderlands of behavior, lies a phenomenon that challenges our understanding of stillness. We drift to the concept of the sleepwalker. While you lie safely anchored, there are those who navigate the physical world while their consciousness remains locked in the dream world. It is a state known as somnambulism. Visualize the brain as a ship with two captains. The captain of consciousness is asleep in his bunk, but the captain of movement, the primitive motor centers of the brain, is wide awake and standing at the wheel. It is a testament to how deeply ingrained our spatial memory is. A sleepwalker can navigate their own home, avoiding tables and chairs, opening doors, all while their eyes look through the world rather than at it. It reveals that your body knows your sanctuary better than your conscious mind does. Your feet know the number of steps to the door. Your hand knows the height of the handle. While you do not need to walk tonight, take comfort in this bodily wisdom. Your physical form remembers the layout of your safety. You're so perfectly attuned to your environment that your body could navigate it in the dark. You're one with your space, held in the familiarity of your own surroundings, a map of comfort etched into your very muscles and bones. From the long voyages of the night, we look to the power of the short reprieve. There is a specific magic found in the briefest of rests, often called the NASA nap. In the vast emptiness of space, or the high-stakes environment of a cockpit, scientists discovered that the perfect duration for a restorative pause is approximately 26 minutes. Visualize a pilot surrounded by the hum of instruments and the endless blue of the stratosphere, closing their eyes for just this short span. In 26 minutes, you do not sink deep enough to suffer the grogginess of sleep inertia, but you drift far enough to reset the sodium-potassium pumps in your neurons. It is a biological reboot. It improves performance and alertness by over 30%. Imagine this not as a full night's sleep, but as a cool drink of water on a hot day. If you ever feel the need to rest during the sunlit hours, do not fear that you're wasting time. You're engaging in a precise, scientifically calibrated calibration of your instrument. But for now, we're not looking for a 26-minute reboot. We are looking for the long haul. We are looking for the deep ocean. Yet, it is comforting to know that sleep is so potent, so concentrated, that even a mere sip of it can restore the sharpness of the mind. Deepening our descent, we look to the masters of the long winter for guidance. Let us curl up in the imagination of the hibernation den. While humans do not hibernate, we share a distant biological echo with the bear and the groundhog. True hibernation is not just sleep. It is a suspension of life, a lowering of the flame to the tiniest blue flicker. Visualize a great bear in a cave deep beneath the snow-covered roots of an ancient tree. The storm howls outside, but inside it is warm, dry, and silent. The bear's heart rate slows from 40 beats a minute to just 8. Its body temperature drops. It enters a state of torpor, a profound efficiency where time loses all meaning. Winter passes in a single long breath. While you cannot slow your heart to 8 beats, You can mimic this surrender. Visualize your metabolism slowing down, the fire of your energy turning down to a low, steady glow. You're conserving yourself. You're waiting out the winter of the night. There's nothing to chase, nothing to hunt, nothing to gather. You're safe in the den of your bed, insulated by the heavy blankets, letting the world outside turn cold and white, while you remain warm and preserved in the amber of deep rest. Drifting up slightly from that deep cave, we find ourselves in the surreal, twilight zone between wakefulness and sleep, a place known as the hypnagogic state. This is the borderland where genius often resides. Visualize the artist Salvador Dalí sitting in a chair, a heavy metal key held loosely in his hand, a plate on the floor beneath it. He would allow himself to drift, and just as he slipped into the unconscious, his muscles would relax, the key would fall, and the clang would wake him. Why? Because in that fleeting moment before true sleep, the mind is untethered. Logic dissolves, and associative thinking blooms. The brain makes connections it would never make while awake. It is a kaleidoscope of imagery, a stream of surreal consciousness. You may have felt this, hearing a voice that isn't there, seeing a geometric pattern, or having a sudden, brilliant solution to a problem. This is not madness. It is the playground of the mind. Enjoy this transition. As you drift tonight, watch the thoughts that float by. They may be strange, nonsensical, or beautiful. Do not try to organize them. Let them flow like a surrealist painting, melting clocks and floating elephants, the debris of the rational world dissolving into the fluid logic of the dream. Now, let us float completely free of gravity. We cast our minds upward, past the clouds, to the International Space Station orbiting the Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. How does one sleep when there is no down? In the microgravity of space, astronauts cannot lay their heads on a pillow, for the pillow would float away, and their heads would not press against it. They must strap themselves into sleeping bags attached vertically to the walls. Visualize this sensation: absolute weightlessness. There are no pressure points, no need to turn over because your hip hurts or your arm is asleep. Your arms, released from gravity, naturally float up in front of you, like a marionette with cut strings. It is the ultimate flotation therapy. While you're bound to the earth by gravity, try to capture that feeling of suspension. Imagine the bed is not pushing up against you, but that you are hovering just a millimeter above it. The air around you holds you. You are a celestial traveller, orbiting the centre of your own universe, untethered, weightless, drifting in a capsule of silence through the great starry void. From the silence of space, we return to a very human, very contagious signal: the yawn. We often stifle them, considering them rude, but let us reframe the yawn as a biological cooling fan. Visualize your brain as a high-powered computer processor. After a long day of processing data, emotions and sensory input, it begins to run hot. A deep, cavernous yawn draws in a massive amount of cool air. This air travels up through the palate and into the blood vessels of the head, literally cooling the blood that bathes the brain. It is a thermal exchange. So if you feel a yawn rising in your chest, do not suppress it. Open wide. Let the cool air rush in. Visualize it as a refreshing wind sweeping through the attic of your mind, lowering the temperature, signaling to the system that it is time to power down. It is also a signal of empathy, a shared bond with every other human who has ever lived. When you yawn, you are participating in a ritual as old as breath itself, a communal agreement that we're all tired, we're all human, and we all deserve to rest. Finally, we arrive at the healing waters of emotional alchemy. Sleep is not just a physical repair shop, it is a therapy session for the soul. There is a specific neurochemical change that happens when you enter the dreaming phase. The brain strips away the norepinephrine, the chemical associated with stress and anxiety, from your memories. Visualize a painful or stressful memory from the day as a sharp, jagged stone. It has rough edges that cut when you hold it. Now, Visualize dropping that stone into the river of your dreams. As you sleep, the water rushes over it, smoothing the edges, polishing the surface. The event itself remains, the stone is still there, but the sharp emotional sting is washed away. This is why we say, "I'll sleep on it." It is why the tragedy that seemed unbearable at midnight feels manageable by morning. You're undergoing a nocturnal soothing. The brain is reprocessing the past, taking the bite out of the fear, turning the jagged rocks into smooth river stones. Trust in this process. Whatever worry you're holding on to, let it fall into the water. Let the current take it. By morning it will be smooth, and you will be whole. And as those emotional waters smooth the jagged edges of your memories, a similar process of gentle refinement is taking place within the dense, tangled forest of your neural connections. We drift now into the concept of the great internal gardening, scientifically known as synaptic pruning. Visualize a lush, overgrown garden at the height of summer. During the day, as you learn new things, a name, a face, a fact, a feeling, your brain sprouts new connections like vines reaching out to grab onto a trellis. By the time night falls, this garden is teeming with overgrowth. It is crowded, noisy, and difficult to navigate. If you were to keep every single connection you made in a day, your mind would become a chaotic jungle, impenetrable and loud. So, as you sleep, the master gardener arrives. Visualize a pair of gentle silver shears moving through the thicket of your mind. With infinite precision, the brain assesses which vines are strong and necessary, and which are merely temporary tendrils of the day. It snips away the excess. It scales back the noise. This is not a loss, it is a curation. It creates space between the trees so the sunlight can filter through tomorrow. Imagine this pruning happening now. A quiet, rhythmic snipping away of the trivial, the static, the clutter. You're becoming lighter. You're being streamlined. The density of the day is being thinned out, leaving behind only the elegant, strong branches of wisdom and essential memory. Feel the relief of this clearing, the opening up of vast, quiet spaces within your own head. From this internal spaciousness, we shift our focus to the sensation of warmth and the liquid embrace that often precedes sleep. Consider the ritual of the warm bath. It is more than just a luxury. It is a biological key that unlocks the gate to slumber. You might think we bathe to get warm, but the magic actually lies in the cooling. Visualize yourself stepping into a tub of hot water. The heat wraps around you, turning your skin rosy and pink. This heat draws the blood away from the core of your body and out to the surface of your skin, like people rushing out of a house to greet the sun. This process, known as vasodilation, is a grand migration of your body's heat. When you step out of the bath and into the cool air of your bedroom, that heat escapes rapidly from your skin, causing your core temperature to plummet. As we learned, a dropping body temperature is the lullaby your brain waits for. Visualize that sensation now, the heavy, clean warmth of the water soaking into your muscles, followed by the crisp, refreshing coolness of the sheets. It is a thermal journey from the tropical to the temperate, a physical signal that the day is done. Feel the residual warmth in your toes and fingers, a glowing reminder of the bath, while your center becomes cool, calm, and ready for the stillness. Drifting far from the comforts of warm baths and soft sheets, we travel to the African savanna to witness a marvel of vigilance. We look to the giraffe. These gentle giants, towering towards the sky, possess a relationship with sleep that makes our own seem like a decadent feast. A giraffe sleeps for only about 30 minutes a day, often in short bursts of just a few minutes at a time. Visualize standing on the open plains, the horizon stretching infinitely in all directions. You're so tall you can see the curvature of the earth. Because of the predators that stalk the tall grass, you cannot afford to close your eyes for hours. You take your rest in micro naps, sometimes standing up, sometimes curling your long, elegant neck around to rest your head on your own flank for just a moment. Contrast their vigilance with your safety. You do not need to scan the horizon. You do not need to sleep standing up. You have been granted the luxury of hours, 8, 9, 10 hours of unbroken safety. Feel a sense of gratitude for this abundance. You are the royalty of the animal kingdom when it comes to rest. You have a castle, a bed, and a locked door. You can afford to let down your guard completely, spending a third of your life in the sanctuary that the giraffe can only visit for fleeting seconds. As we settle deeper into this luxury, the soundscape around us shifts. We have listened to the gentle hiss of white noise and the balanced rain of pink noise, but now we descend into the cavernous depths of brown noise. This is the colour of the deep earth. While pink noise is high rain, brown noise is the low, thundering rumble of a waterfall crashing into a pool from a great height, or the heavy, rolling roar of a distant thunderstorm. Visualize a sound that has no high pitch, no sharpness. It is all bass, all depth. It is the sound of the ocean floor moving. It is the hum of the universe's engine room. Brown noise is a rougher sound, mimicking the chaotic movement of particles in liquid. It is a sound that wraps you in a heavy acoustic blanket. It swallows the silence. Imagine lying in the hull of a massive wooden ship, listening to the deep rhythmic creaking of the timbers and the roar of the sea outside. It is a sound that vibrates in your chest more than your ears. It is grounding. It tells your primitive brain that you are sheltered from the storm. Let this deep, brown frequency resonate through your bones now. A heavy, steady thrum that vibrates the tension right out of your muscles, pulling you down towards the center of the earth. Deep within that center, inside the control room of your brain, there is a specific cluster of neurons with a singular powerful job. We drift to the concept of the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus, the VLPO. Think of this not as a complex anatomical term, but as the master switch of consciousness. For years, scientists wondered if sleep was a whole brain event, but they found this tiny, specialized area that acts as the conductor. Visualize an old-fashioned theatre lighting booth. There is a large, heavy lever made of brass. During the day, the lever is up, and the lights of the theatre, the arousal systems, are blazing bright. But as the adenosine builds and the circadian rhythm dips, the VLPO begins to pull that lever down. It sends out inhibitory neurotransmitters, which are like quiet ushers moving through the brain, telling the other neurons to sit down and be quiet. It actively shuts off the wake-promoting centers. It is a decisive action. You're not just running out of energy, you are being switched off by a biological intelligence. Visualize that lever slowly coming down now. The lights dim from 100% to 50 to 10 to 0. The hum of the theatre fades. The show is over. The VLPO has taken command, and its only command is silence. But in that silence, a new kind of agency can emerge. We float now into the lucid dream. Most of the time, we are passengers in our dreams, swept along by the current of the narrative, accepting that we are late for an exam we took 10 years ago, or that we can breathe underwater. But occasionally the dreamer wakes up inside the dream. This is lucidity. Visualize yourself standing in a field in your dream. Suddenly you look at your hands, you turn them over, you realize with a jolt of electric joy, I am dreaming. This is not real. I am the architect. In this state, the laws of physics are merely suggestions. You can push off the ground and fly. You can conjure a banquet table or change the weather from rain to sunshine. It is the ultimate freedom, a simulation where you are God. While we often drift aimlessly, know that this potential exists within you. You carry a universe inside your skull where you can control the stars. Perhaps tonight, if you realize you are dreaming, you will not wake up. You will stay, and you will fly. You will spread your arms and soar over the landscapes of your own subconscious, the master of your own reality, untethered and infinite. Leaving the skies of the mind, we return to the water to observe a feat of impossible balance. We look to the flamingo. These vibrant birds sleep standing on one leg, head tucked backward into their feathers. For years, We thought this required muscular effort, but it is actually a state of passive locking. The flamingo's anatomy is designed so that when it stands on one leg, gravity naturally locks the joints into place. It requires less energy for them to stand on one leg than on two. Visualize this state of effortless suspension. To us, balance requires focus, but to nature, balance can be a state of rest. The flamingo is a statue of pink and white, hovering above the glassy surface of a lagoon, perfectly still, perfectly supported by its own design. It does not sway. It does not fall. It trusts its structure. You too are designed for this rest. Your body has its own locking mechanisms, the way your spine settles into the mattress, the way your head finds the groove in the pillow. You do not need to hold yourself up. You do not need to maintain your position. You can disengage your muscles and trust that the bed, the floor, the earth will hold you in perfect alignment. Like the flamingo, you can find a balance that requires no effort, a stillness that is supported by the very laws of physics. From this upright balance, we curl inward, returning to the most primal shape of all. We drift to the concept of the fetal position. It is the most common sleeping posture for humans, adopted by nearly 40% of people. It is the shape of the beginning. Knees drawn up to the chest, spine curved, head bowed. This is the posture we held in the womb, floating in the first darkness. Visualize yourself as a seed, tightly packed and self-contained. By curling into this ball, you are physically protecting your vital organs, the heart, the stomach, the soft underbelly. It is a posture of self-soothing and defense. It retains heat. It offers a psychological sense of closure, shutting out the world and turning the focus entirely inward. If you find yourself curling up tonight, know that you are answering an ancient call. You're returning to the first safety you ever knew. You're making yourself small in a vast world, wrapping your own arms around your existence, becoming a closed circle of comfort where nothing can enter and nothing is lost. Now, let us dive deep, deeper than we have gone before, to the midnight zone of the ocean. Here, we witness the sleeping giants, the sperm whales. Their sleep is a sight of haunting, surreal beauty. They do not lie on the sandy bottom, nor do they float horizontally at the surface. They sleep vertically. Visualize a cathedral of deep blue water. Suspended in the void are massive grey pillars, the whales, hanging nose up or nose down, perfectly motionless. They drift in pods, a silent forest of leviathans. They hold their breath for these naps, suspended in the neutral buoyancy of the deep. It is a scene of absolute majestic peace. They look like ancient monoliths, monuments to silence. Imagine being one of them, weightless in the crushing dark, held upright by the density of the sea. There is no floor, no ceiling, only the water. You are a pillar of calm in the chaos of the ocean. Feel that sense of suspension, of being held on all sides by a medium thicker than air, floating in a vast, silent community of sleepers, untroubled by the currents, timeless and still. Finally, as we rise from the depths, we hear a faint murmuring voice. We touch upon the phenomenon of somniloquy, sleep talking. Sometimes the seal between the dream world and the mouth is not perfectly tight, and words slip through. It is the leak in the vessel. The listener might hear gibberish, or a full sentence, or a laugh. Visualize your vocal cords as an instrument that usually sits silent on the shelf at night, but sometimes the wind of the dream blows through them. It is harmless, a quirky byproduct of the mind's storytelling engine running a little too loud. It reminds us that even in sleep we are communicative beings. We are social creatures who cannot help but reach out, even when we are lost in the solitary confinement of a dream. If you were to speak tonight, what would you say? It does not matter. The words are just bubbles rising to the surface of a pond, popping in the air, leaving no trace. Let the concept of it amuse you, that you have a secret narrator who sometimes whispers to the empty room, a ghost of your waking self testifying to the reality of the world you're building behind your closed eyes. And as we speak of building worlds behind closed eyes, let us descend once more into the liquid depths to witness a creature that projects its dream world onto the very canvas of its skin. We drift down to the rocky crevices of the ocean floor where the octopus resides. This alien intelligence, with a brain distributed through its 8 arms, experiences a form of sleep that is visually spectacular. Visualize the octopus sleeping in its den. As it slips into the active phase of sleep, its version of a REM, its skin begins to put on a silent, mesmerizing performance. The chromatophores, tiny pigment-filled sacs in its skin, begin to expand and contract rapidly. You see waves of rust red, mottled white, deep brown, and sudden flashes of iridescent blue rippling across its body. It is dreaming of the hunt. In its mind, it is stalking a crab, blending into the coral, or hiding in the kelp, and its body obeys the narrative of the dream by changing colour to match the hallucinated environment. It is a biological cinema. Imagine if your own dreams were broadcast on your skin, if your face flushed with the colours of the sunset you were dreaming of. Watch the octopus now, a flickering disco ball of camouflage in the dark ocean, a living testament to the fact that dreams are not just phantom thoughts, but powerful electrical storms that command the physical vessel, even in the deepest rest. Leaving the flickering colours of the deep, we turn our attention inward to the invisible waves crashing against the shores of your own brain. In the silent topography of your sleep recording known as the EEG, there stands a sudden, towering monument. It is called the K-complex. Amidst the low, rolling hills of your brain waves, this is a massive, sudden spike, the largest single event in healthy human sleep. Visualize yourself walking along a calm beach. The waves are small and rhythmic. Suddenly a giant, slow swell rises up, much higher than the others, and washes far up the sand before receding. This is the K-complex. It serves a profound purpose. It is the guardian of the threshold. When the brain detects a disturbance, a noise, a touch, a shift in light that is not dangerous but potentially waking, it fires this massive electrical wave. This wave effectively says, hush. It suppresses the cortical arousal. It creates a blanket of inhibition to keep you under. It is the brain protecting its own downtime. It is also believed to be a moment of memory transfer, a heavy stamp sealing a memory into the archives. Visualize these giant, gentle waves rolling through your mind every few minutes, washing away the noise, smoothing the sand, ensuring that the castle of your sleep remains unbreached by the chaos of the waking world. From the protective waves of the brain, we drift to the sensory landscape of the bedroom, specifically to the ancient hills of the Mediterranean. There is a scent that has been twinned with sleep for thousands of years: lavender. But this is not merely folklore, it is chemistry. The oil of this purple flower contains a compound called linalool. Visualize a vast field of lavender in Provence, stretching to the horizon under a setting sun. The air is thick with the dusty floral perfume. As you breathe it in, the linalool molecules travel up your nose and interact directly with your olfactory bulb, sending a chemical telegram to the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. The message is simple: cool down. It acts as a mild sedative, physically slowing the heart rate and lowering blood pressure. It is nature's own tranquilizer. Imagine the scent as a purple mist swirling around your pillow. It is heavy, sweet, and earthly. It creates a boundary between the sharp, sterile air of the day and the soft, scented air of the night. Breathe in deeply in your mind's eye, filling your lungs with this purple haze, feeling the nervous system unclench, the shoulders drop, and the mind settle into the fragrant cradle of the flower. As the scent settles, we become aware of the surface beneath us. The history of the bed is a long timeline of humanity seeking softness in a hard world. For millennia, we slept on piles of reeds, ferns, and aromatic leaves that naturally repelled insects. We were nesting animals. Then came the era of ropes and straw. Visualize a rustic wooden frame, a lattice of heavy ropes stretched tight across it, supporting a mattress stuffed with crackling straw. Every night, you would have to use a tool to tighten the sagging ropes, hence the saying, "sleep tight." It was a labour to rest. But now, visualize the miracle you're likely lying upon. A modern mattress is a cloud of engineering, layers of memory, foam, invented for astronauts to cushion the G-force of takeoff, now cushion the weight of your day. It absorbs your pressure points, contouring to the unique map of your body. It remembers you. Feel the way the material rises to meet the arch of your back, how it gives way beneath the heavy point of your hip. You're floating on a slab of captured air and chemistry, a far cry from the stone floors of our ancestors. Let yourself sink into this modern luxury, appreciating the thousands of years of innovation that culminated in this single, perfect square of softness. While the bed supports us through the night, there is a natural rhythm that pulls at us even when the sun is high. We drift to the concept of the circadian dip, often felt in the ghostly quiet of the mid-afternoon. Between the hours of 2 and 4 o'clock, the human body experiences a natural drop in core temperature and a spike in melatonin, mirroring the conditions of midnight. Visualize a warm, dusty village in Spain or Italy. The shops are closed. The shutters are drawn against the glare of the sun. The streets are empty. It is the siesta. This is not laziness. It is biology. We are biphasic sleepers by nature, designed to have a long rest at night and a brief pause in the afternoon. The post-lunch slump you feel is not just about food. It is an ancient genetic clock chiming the hour of rest. If you ever feel that heavy-lidded pull in the afternoon, do not berate yourself. It is the echo of a time when the sun was too hot to hunt, and the tribe would rest in the shade. Visualize yourself lying in that cool, dappled shade now, the heat shimmering in the distance, succumbing to the natural gravitational pull of the earth, asking you to pause, to close your eyes, and to drift for just a little while. Drifting from the afternoon shadows back into the cinema of the night, we address the warping of time. There is a myth that dreams happen in a split second, that an epic adventure lasting hours in your mind actually occurs in the blink of an eye. But science tells us something more grounding. Dreams happen in real time. Visualize a stopwatch. If you dream that you're walking down a long hallway, and it takes 30 seconds to walk it in the dream, your brain is in that stage of sleep for exactly 30 seconds. We're not watching a movie on fast forward. We are living it minute by minute. In studies where lucid dreamers were asked to move their eyes in a specific pattern, count to 10, and then move them again, the time between the signals was exactly 10 seconds. This means your dream life is as substantial, as durational, as your waking life. You're not rushing through these visions, you're inhabiting them. Feel the validity of that time. When you sleep for 8 hours, you're not skipping time, you're investing it. You're living a parallel existence that ticks by at the same steady, rhythmic pace as the grandfather clock in the hall. And what are we doing with this time? We are practicing. We drift to the concept of the replay. Visualize a laboratory rat running through a complex wooden maze during the day. It turns left, then right, seeking the reward. Its brain cells fire in a specific, unique sequence, mapping the route. Now, visualize that same rat asleep in a corner of the cage. If we listen to the neurons in its hippocampus, we hear a ghost song. The brain is firing the exact same sequence of neurons, left, then right, then reward, but in reverse, or at high speed. It is replaying the tape. It is practicing the maze in its sleep. You do the same. If you learned a piano piece today, or a new driving route, your brain is currently running the simulation, etching the neural pathway deeper into the grey matter. Sleep is the ink that makes the memory permanent. Visualize your mind as a cartographer, sitting by a candlelight in the quiet of the night, drawing over the pencil lines of the day with a permanent heavy ink, ensuring that when you wake, the map is clear, the lesson is learned, and the path is known. To aid this deep work, we sometimes crave a sensation of containment. We turn to the phenomenon of deep pressure stimulation, the science behind the heavy quilt or the weighted blanket. There is a reason we tuck children in tight, why we enjoy the weight of a heavy duvet even in summer. Visualize a hug. When you're held tight, your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. The pressure on your skin signals the release of serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals of happiness and calm, while simultaneously reducing cortisol, the chemical of stress. It is a biological reassurance that you are safe. A weighted blanket mimics this eternal embrace. It anchors the proprioceptive system, the body's sense of where it is in space. Without this weight, we sometimes feel we are floating away, untethered, but with it, we are grounded. Feel the imaginary weight of a heavy woolen blanket settling over you now. It presses down on your chest, your thighs, your shins. It is a lead apron of comfort, shielding you from the radiation of anxiety, holding you firmly in the present moment, whispering to your nervous system that you are held, you are hidden, and you are secure. From the weight of the blanket, we travel to the muddy banks of an Australian river to witness the champion of REM sleep, the platypus. This strange duck-billed creature sleeps for up to 14 hours a day, and incredibly, nearly 8 of those hours are spent in REM sleep. This is more than any other mammal. Visualize the platypus curled up in its burrow, deep inside the earth by the water's edge. While it sleeps, its bill makes searching movements, hunting for invisible shrimp in the mud of its dreams. Because they are born so underdeveloped, it is theorized that this massive amount of dreaming is how their brain develops. They dream themselves into maturity. They build their neural networks not through experience, but through simulation. It is a beautiful thought that the dream world is a construction site where the self is built. Even as adults, we return to this site. We are never fully finished. We are always adding a new room, a new wing to the house of the self. Join the platypus in the mud, in the dark, engaging in the serious biological work of dreaming, building the mind one firing neuron at a time. Finally, we look toward the horizon where the sun waits to return. Even before your eyes open, your body begins a complex orchestral prelude known as the cortisol awakening response. We often think we wake up because the alarm rings, but the body knows the time long before that. Visualize the hour before dawn. The world is blue and silent. But inside your veins, the tide is turning. Your body temperature begins to rise from its nightly nadir. Your adrenal glands slowly begin to release cortisol, not as a stress signal, but as an energy potion. It is the fuel injection system priming the engine. It prepares your heart to pump faster, your lungs to breathe deeper, your eyes to process light. It is a chemical sunrise that happens inside you before the actual sunrise happens outside. Trust in this preparation. You do not need to force yourself to wake. Your body is a rhythmic master, and when the time is right, it will gently lift the veil. But for now, the sun is still far below the horizon. The cortisol is quiet. The tide is still out. There is no need to rise. There is only the dark, the warmth, and the long, slow drift of the night that stretches out before you, endless and inviting. And while the body prepares for the distant dawn with that slow chemical sunrise, we remain happily anchored in the present darkness, turning our gaze to the visual echoes that dance behind closed eyelids. We drift now into the phenomenon of the visual echo, often known as the Tetris effect. This is the lingering imprint of the day's devotion. Visualize a stone dropped into a still pond. The ripples continue to spread long after the stone has vanished. If you have spent your day gardening, pulling weeds from the earth, you may close your eyes and see the phantom shapes of green leaves and brown roots twisting in the dark. If you have spent hours on the ocean, you may feel the phantom sway of the waves rocking you to sleep. This is not a hallucination, but a beautiful digestive process of the mind. Your brain is sorting through the sensory patterns of the last 12 hours, prioritizing them, etching them into the neural circuitry. It is the afterglow of your focus. Visualize these patterns now. not as chaotic intrusions, but as soft, geometric shapes tumbling slowly through a void. They are the falling leaves of your experiences drifting down to settle on the forest floor of your memory. Watch them fall, spinning gently, losing their urgency, becoming nothing more than abstract art painted on the canvas of your eyelids, a silent movie of the day's motions playing you out into the stillness. From the motion of the mind, we slow our pace drastically, decelerating until we are nearly motionless, shrinking down to the size of a small shelled creature in a garden. We look to the snail for a lesson in patience and the suspension of time. While we worry about getting our 8 hours, the land snail possesses a capability that defies our comprehension of time. If the weather is dry and the environment harsh, the snail does not panic. It simply retreats. Visualize the snail pulling its soft body entirely inside the spiral of its shell. It secretes a thin veil of mucus over the opening, which hardens into a watertight door. In this state, known as estivation, the snail can sleep for up to 3 years. 3 years of silence, 3 years of waiting for the rain. It slows its heart, its breathing, its very existence to a near halt. Imagine possessing that level of trust in the future. To be able to close the door and say, "I will wait until the world is soft again." You do not need to sleep for 3 years, but you can borrow this feeling of impenetrable safety. Visualize your room as that shell. You have sealed the door. You have turned off the world. You're safe inside your spiral, waiting out the dryness of the day, preserved in a perfect, self-contained sanctuary where time flows as slowly as you choose. And what wakes the snail? It is the scent of water. We drift now to a smell that is universally hailed as a trigger for peace: petrichor. This is the earthly, fresh aroma that rises from the dry soil when the first heavy raindrops fall. It is a scent that is hardwired into our DNA as a signal of survival. Visualize a parched landscape, the earth cracked and thirsty under a relentless sun. Clouds gather, heavy and slate grey. The first fat, cool drops hit the dust. Immediately a chemical reaction occurs. A compound called geosmin is released by bacteria in the soil, wafting up into the air. For our ancestors, this smell meant water was near. It meant the crops would grow. It meant life. When you smell rain, your body instinctively relaxes because the ancient part of your brain hears the whisper, "The drought is over. You are safe." Imagine that scent filling your room now, the smell of wet slate, of damp moss, of ozone and cooling asphalt. It is the perfume of relief. Let it wash over you, cooling the heat of your thoughts, grounding you in the damp, fertile earth, signalling that the resources you need are falling from the sky, and you can rest easy. As the imaginary rain cools the air, we attend to the thermodynamics of your own bed. There is a peculiar and delightful ritual that many perform without knowing the science behind it: the sticking out of a single foot. You are warm under the heavy duvet, cozy and contained, but you slide one foot out into the cool air. This is not just a quirk, it is a masterclass in biological temperature control. Visualize the soles of your feet. They are crisscrossed with specialized networks of blood vessels called arteriovenous anastomoses. These are essentially the radiators of the human body. Because the skin on the soles of your feet is hairless and these vessels are close to the surface, they are perfect for venting heat. By exposing just this small patch of skin to the cool air, you can lower your entire core body temperature with precision. It is like opening a small window in a hot house to let the breeze in. Feel that contrast now. The heavy, enveloping warmth of the blankets against your torso and the crisp, refreshing kiss of the air on your foot. It is the perfect balance, the sweet spot between being swaddled and being free. You are piloting your own comfort, adjusting the dial to the exact degree of coolness required to drift off into the deep. From the coolness of the foot, we look to the masters of the nap, the domestic cats that grace our homes. They spend an average of 15 to 16 hours a day in slumber. But it is not just the quantity of their sleep that is envious. It is the quality of their vibration. We drift to the healing power of the purr. Visualize a cat curled into a perfect circle on a velvet cushion. Its eyes are closed, its breathing is slow, and its entire body is humming. This purr vibrates at a frequency between 25 and 150 Hz. Scientists have discovered that sound frequencies in this exact range can improve bone density and promote the healing of soft tissue. The cat is not just expressing contentment, it is physically repairing itself through sound. It is singing a lullaby that heals its own bones. Imagine lying next to this vibrating warmth. The sound is low, continuous, and rhythmic, like a small diesel engine of pure peace. Visualize that vibration transferring to you, humming through your chest, your spine, your ribs. It is a sonic massage, knitting together the frayed edges of your day, vibrating the tension out of your muscles, leaving you as liquid and loose as the cat itself. Leaving the domestic comfort of the cat, we fly silently into the woods to observe the guardian of the night, the owl. While we associate them with wakefulness, they teach us a profound lesson about silence. The owl is the only bird that flies without making a sound. Visualize a great horned owl taking flight from a pine branch. Most birds create a whoosh when they flap, but the owl's feathers are serrated like a comb at the edges. This design breaks up the turbulence of the air, muffling the sound completely. It is a stealth bomber of nature. It moves through the air like smoke. As you lie in bed, imagine you are wrapped in these silent feathers. The noise of the world, the traffic, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant voices is dampened by this soft serrated velvet. You're moving through the night with zero friction. There is no resistance, no turbulence. You're gliding through a tunnel of absolute quiet, wrapped in the softest down, passing unseen and unheard through the forest of the night. Drifting further into the mystery of time, we encounter the phenomenon of the dream lag. Have you ever dreamt of something that happened a week ago rather than today? There is a fascinating delay in the processing of our deeper memories. While the residue of today often appears in tonight's dreams, the more complex emotional events often take 5 to 7 days to resurface. Visualize a post office inside your mind. The simple letters, what you ate for lunch, the face of the cashier, are sorted and filed immediately. But the heavy packages, the emotional conversations, the moments of deep learning, are set aside for a more thorough inspection. It takes about a week for the brain to fully integrate these experiences into your long-term memory. This is why you might suddenly dream of a person you saw last Tuesday. It is a sign that the processing is complete. The package has been opened. Rest in the knowledge that your mind is working on a timeline you cannot see. You do not need to rush your healing or your learning. The brain has its own schedule, a slow, methodical 7-day rhythm that ensures nothing important is lost, and everything is placed exactly where it belongs in the library of your life. As we speak of processing, notice the quality of the voice, not my voice, but your own. We drift to the concept of the morning voice, that deep, gravelly resonance we possess when we first wake. This is the sound of pure relaxation. Visualize your vocal cords as 2 strings on a cello. During the day, they are tight, vibrating rapidly to produce the higher pitch of social speech. But as you sleep, the muscles that hold them taut completely let go. The cords become loose and thick with fluid that accumulates during the night. They relax into their natural, untensioned state. When you speak in that groggy morning rumble, you are hearing the sound of a body that has let go of all performance. It is the acoustic signature of rest. Imagine your throat relaxing now, the tension melting away from the larynx, the vocal cords slacking into that deep cello-like looseness. You do not need to speak. You do not need to perform. You're tuning your instrument down, dropping the pitch, finding the low, resonant note of silence that vibrates in the center of your chest. From the silence of the human throat, we travel to the swamps of the American South to witness a paradox. We look to the bullfrog. For decades, scientists debated whether the bullfrog sleeps at all. When tested, these creatures showed the same responsiveness to light and touch, whether they were resting or active. They never seemed to fully disconnect. But let us reframe this. Perhaps the bullfrog has mastered a form of rest that is integrated into wakefulness. It sits on the lily pad, absolutely motionless, eyes open, breathing slow. It is not asleep in the way we know it, but it is not wasting energy. It exists in a state of restful alertness. It teaches us that you do not need to be unconscious to be resting. Even if you lie there tonight and cannot drift off immediately, you are still resting. You're the bullfrog on the lily pad. Your body is supported, your muscles are still, your breath is calm. This stillness is valid. It is restorative. Do not fight for sleep, simply accept the stillness. Be the watcher in the pond, perfectly content to simply be, soaking up the quiet of the night without the pressure to disappear. Finally, we retreat from the open pond to the safety of the enclosed space. We explore the primal psychology of the command position, or why we crave a headboard. Evolution has taught us that to sleep safely, we must protect our backs. In the cave, we would sleep with our backs to the solid stone wall, facing the fire and the entrance. Visualize your bed now. Feel the solid presence of the wall or the headboard behind you. This is your cliff face. It is the unshakable mountain that guards your rear. Because of this solid barrier, your primitive brain knows that nothing can sneak up on you from behind. You have a 180-degree view of safety. This ancient instinct allows the amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, to stop scanning the room. You're in the command position. You're the master of the cave. The wall has your back, literally and figuratively. Feel that support pressing against the crown of your head, a solid, immovable object that stands between you and the void, allowing you to cast your gaze forward into the soft, swirling mists of the dream world, secure in the knowledge that you are protected from behind. And from that solid, protective wall behind you, guiding your gaze toward the open potential of the dream world, we gently turn our attention to the vessel itself and how it lies upon the mattress. There is a geometry to rest, a specific alignment that the body favors when the mind lets go. We drift to the concept of left side sleeping. Visualize the intricate, soft machinery of your internal organs. They are not packed randomly, but organized in a delicate, fluid asymmetry. Your stomach, a curved pouch, sits naturally on the left. When you turn onto your left side, you're working with the forces of gravity rather than against them. Visualize your digestion as a slow, winding river. By lying on the left, you allow the river to flow downhill, effortlessly carrying the day's nourishment through the valleys of your system. It is the path of least resistance. Your heart, too, finds ease here. The great aorta, the highway of your blood, arches to the left. By mirroring this curve with your body, you're taking the workload off the pump, allowing the life force to circulate with the gentle ease of water sliding down a leaf. Feel the rightness of this position, the way your body settles into a groove of biological efficiency, a silent cooperation between gravity and anatomy that allows the deep, internal work to proceed without struggle. As you curl into this position, perhaps drawing your knees up, you're unconsciously mimicking the very first environment you ever knew. We float back to the primal soundscape of the womb. We often think of silence as the gold standard for sleep, yet for the first 9 months of your existence, you slept in a factory of noise. Visualize the environment of the womb not as a quiet library, but as a rushing, rhythmic ocean. The sound of the mother's heart beating, the whoosh of blood rushing through the placenta, the muffled boom of voices from the outside world. It was a symphony of life, reaching decibels as loud as a vacuum cleaner. This is why total silence can sometimes feel unsettling, and why the hum of a fan or the drone of an air conditioner feels so deeply soothing. It is an acoustic memory. It reminds your brainstem of a time when you were completely contained, completely fed, and completely one with another being. Listen to the shh sound of your own breath now, or the white noise of the room. It is the modern echo of that ancient rhythmic whooshing. a sonic umbilical cord that tethers you back to the original safety of the beginning. From the solitary memory of the womb, we expand our vision to the communal warmth of the desert floor. We look to the meerkat for a lesson in tactile security. These small creatures, living in the harsh, open sands of the Kalahari, engage in a sleeping ritual of profound intimacy, the puppy pile. Visualize a burrow, cool and dark beneath the baking sun. Inside, 10 or 20 softly furred bodies are entangled in a heap. They do not sleep in rows, they sleep in a knot. This is not just for warmth. Though the desert night is cold, it is for the transmission of safety. Every heartbeat in the pile signals to the others, I am here, you're not alone. It is a shared nervous system. If one startles, they all wake, but mostly they all breathe in sync. As humans, we often sleep alone or in pairs, separated by space. But tonight, imagine you are part of this pile. Feel the imaginary weight of others around you, the comforting pressure of a shoulder against your back, the warmth of a flank against your legs. You are held in the center of the tribe, insulated by the physical presence of love and kinship, protected from the cold void by the simple, undeniable reality of touch. Leaving the dusty burrow, we find ourselves in a space of immaculate, cool brightness. We turn to the sensory ecstasy of clean sheets. There is a specific, almost electrical pleasure in sliding between linens that have been washed, dried in the sun, and pulled tight. It is a tactile reset button. Visualize the fibers of the cotton, rough and textured. After washing, they are smooth, crisp, and cool. The scent, perhaps of lavender, or simply the ozone smell of fresh air and water, signals to the brain that the environment is pure. It is a psychological cleansing. The dust of the past week, the sweat of old nightmares, the shedding of yesterday's skin, all of it has been washed away. You're entering a virgin space, a blank page. Feel that crisp coolness against your bare legs now, the way the fabric tented over you settles slowly, trapping a pocket of refreshing air. It is a luxury that kings of old would envy, this nightly baptism in fresh cloth, wrapping yourself in a cocoon of cleanliness that invites only new, fresh dreams to enter. And as the sheets settle, the world outside transforms. We drift to the phenomenon of the silence of snow. There is no quiet quite like the quiet of a winter night after a heavy snowfall. This is not just poetic, it is acoustic physics. Visualize the structure of a snowflake, a complex six-sided crystal filled with open spaces. When millions of them stack together on the ground, they form a thick, fluffy blanket of trapped air. This blanket acts as a commercial-grade sound absorber. It swallows the noise of the city, the rumble of tires, the echo of footsteps, the hum of the street, all are trapped in the lattice of the ice. The world is literally muffled. Visualize your bedroom as a cabin in the center of this snow-covered forest. The insulation is perfect. The air outside is still and white, and the silence is heavy, pressing gently against the window pane. It is a silence you can feel, a velvet gag on the noisy mouth of the world, creating a vacuum of peace where the only sound is the slow, steady rhythm of your own heart. In this snowy forest, the trees themselves are not merely statues. They too are bowing their heads. We drift to the circadian rhythm of the birch tree. For centuries we thought plants were passive, but laser scanning studies have revealed that trees physically relax at night. Visualize a tall silver birch tree standing in the moonlight. During the day, its branches reach upward, holding the leaves high to catch the sun, tense with the hydraulic pressure of photosynthesis. But as the sun sets, the pressure drops. The tree goes limp. Its branches droop, lowering by as much as 10 centimeters. The entire forest is physically slumping, letting go of the tension of the reach. It is a universal exhale. The trees are sleeping. Imagine yourself as one of these trees. You have spent the day reaching, striving, holding your arms up to catch the light. But now the sun is gone. You can stop reaching. You can let your branches heavy. You can let your shoulders drop. You can sink 10 centimeters closer to the earth, surrendering to the gravity that wants to hold you, joining the great silent forest in its nightly posture of rest. From the stillness of the trees, we travel to the open ocean to witness a sleep that defies stillness. We look to the great white shark. This apex predator faces a biological imperative. If it stops moving, it stops breathing. It relies on ram ventilation, forcing water over its gills through forward motion. So, how does it sleep? Visualize this majestic creature gliding through the dark blue. It does not curl up on the sand. It enters a state of hypnotic cruising. Its movements become slower, more rhythmic. It is sleep swimming. The conscious brain shuts down, but the spinal cord takes over the swimming pattern. It is an autopilot of the deep. Its eyes remain open, staring into the void, but it is not seeing. It is resting in motion. This teaches us that rest does not always mean stopping. Sometimes rest is just finding a rhythm that requires no effort. Visualize yourself gliding through the night like the shark. You are moving through time, carried by the current of sleep, effortless and powerful, breathing in the peace of the water, sustained by the very act of letting go and letting the current take you. As we glide, we seek a source of fuel for this journey, a comfort found in a warm cup. We return to the childhood ritual of warm milk. While it seems like an old wives' tale, there is a molecular truth hidden in the dairy. Milk contains tryptophan, an amino acid that is the raw building block for serotonin, which is then converted into melatonin. It is the starter fluid for sleep. But beyond the chemistry, visualize the sensation of the warmth itself. Drinking a warm liquid raises the internal temperature of the stomach, creating a radiating sense of fullness and heat that spreads from the center of the torso outward. It mimics the feeling of a full meal, triggering the rest and digest system. It is a liquid hug. Imagine holding that ceramic mug in your hands, feeling the heat seep into your palms. As you swallow, the warmth coats your throat and settles in your belly, a heavy, grounding anchor of comfort. It is the taste of safety, the white, creamy memory of being cared for, signaling to the primal brain that you are fed, you are warm, and you are ready to hibernate. And as the eyes grow heavy from this warmth, a tiny, gritty guardian takes its post. We drift to the concept of the Sandman's sand, biologically known as rheum. We often wake to wipe this sleep dust from the corners of our eyes, perhaps finding it annoying, but it is actually a sign of protection. Visualize your eyelids as the shutters of a house. When you close them for the night, you're sealing the windows, but the eyes are wet, living things. To protect them during the long, dry hours of the night, the body changes the composition of the tear film. It stops producing the watery tears of the day and produces a thicker, more protective balm. The sand you find in the morning is simply the dried residue of this protective shield, the evidence that your body spent the night sealing in the moisture, keeping the delicate surface of the eye safe from the air. Reframe this grit not as dirt, but as the dust of a job well done. It is the remnants of the seal that kept your vision safe while you looked inward at the landscapes of your dreams. Finally, we arrive at the very edge of the morning, where the night leaves its final gift upon the world. We look to the morning dew. As you have slept, the earth has breathed. The ground, cooling under the dark sky, has released its heat, causing the moisture in the air to condense upon every blade of grass, every spiderweb, every leaf. Visualize a garden at first light. It is covered in millions of tiny spherical jewels. The world looks washed, baptized by the night. This dew is the physical manifestation of the cooling process. Just as your body cooled down to enter sleep, the earth cooled down to produce the dew. It represents a fresh start. The dust of yesterday is trapped under these droplets. The air is scrubbed clean. When you wake, you are waking into a world that has been renewed, washed by the breath of the night. But for now, the dew is just beginning to form. The air is cooling. The droplets are gathering. You are part of this great cooling exhale of the planet, resting in the garden of the night, waiting to be covered in the soft, silent jewels of the dawn, and resting there, amidst the jeweled silence of the dew-covered garden, We lower our gaze to the very floor of the forest, to the most ancient mattress known to life. We drift to the concept of the bed of moss. Long before memory foam or coil springs, our ancestors sought the velvet embrace of the deep woods. Visualize a patch of emerald moss, thick and lush, growing over the roots of an old oak tree. It is nature's perfect cushion. It is dense, yet yielding. It holds the coolness of the earth and the moisture of the air, creating a surface that is both grounding and soft. Imagine lying down on this living carpet. It conforms instantly to the shape of your body, not with the mechanical memory of foam, but with the organic acceptance of the earth. There is a scent here, green, damp, and primal. It smells of slow time. It smells of patience. As you sink into this imaginary green cloud, feel the texture against your skin, millions of tiny soft filaments supporting you, a sponge that absorbs not just your weight, but your weariness. It reminds us that the desire for softness is not a modern decadence, but a biological imperative. We are soft creatures in a hard world, and we have always sought the places where the earth softens its edges to hold us. Zooming in closer to this green landscape, we witness a tiny, buzzing worker who has finally clocked out. We look to the sleeping bee. We often think of the hive as a ceaseless factory of activity, but individual bees require profound rest. There are species of solitary bees that do not return to a hive, but instead sleep in the cradles of flowers. Visualize a globe mallow flower, its petals a soft shade of apricot. As the sun begins to dip and the air cools, a small bee lands inside the cup of the blossom. It curls its body around the centre. But here is the detail of heartbreaking tenderness. Because the wind might blow the flower, the bee clamps its mandibles, its jaws, onto the stem or the petal. It locks itself in. Then it lets go with its legs. Visualize this suspension. The bee is hanging on by its bite, its legs dangling freely in the air, its antennae drooping down like unstrung violins. It is completely limp, trusting the flower to hold it through the night. It is a portrait of absolute trust in the environment. You too can clamp onto your safety, perhaps by holding a pillow, or simply by setting your intention, and then let your legs go. Let your arms go. Let the tension drain out of your limbs, hanging weightless in the safety of your bed, just like the bee in the swaying flower. From the swaying flower, we expand that motion into a rhythm that lulls the human brain like no other. We drift to the vestibular rocking effect. There is a reason why we rock babies, and why sailors can sleep through a hurricane. Science has shown that a gentle rhythmic rocking motion synchronizes the brainwaves, pulling us into deep, non-REM sleep faster than stillness can. Visualize a hammock strung between two palm trees on a quiet beach. The wind is gentle, pushing the hammock in a slow pendulum arc. Left, then right. Left, then right. This motion speaks directly to your vestibular system, the fluid-filled canals in your inner ear that track balance. When this fluid sloshes rhythmically, it sends a sedative signal to the brain. It says, "You are being carried." It mimics the walk of the mother, the motion of the womb. Even if your bed is still, you can visualize this sway. Feel the mattress gently tilting beneath you, a slow oceanic roll. You're not stagnant, you're drifting on a raft. Allow your internal sense of balance to surrender to this imaginary tide, rocking you deeper and deeper into the unconscious, synchronized with the pulse of the planet. As we rock, we taste the dark, sweet nectar of the night. We travel to the orchards of the Montmorency cherry. While we've spoken of the pineal gland producing melatonin, there are rare gifts from the earth that contain this sleep hormone in its raw, edible form. The tart cherry is the ruby of the sleep world. Visualize walking through an orchard at dusk. The trees are heavy with dark red fruit. These cherries are not the sugary snacks of the supermarket. They are sour, complex, and potent. They are bursting with exogenous melatonin. When consumed, they signal to the body that it is time to shut down. Imagine sipping the juice of these cherries. It is cool, tart and deep red, almost purple. As it moves through your system, it acts like a liquid sunset. It dims the lights, it cools the blood. It is a reminder that the boundary between food and medicine, between the earth and the body, is porous. We consume the night to become the night. Taste that tart richness on your tongue now, a flavour that is the very essence of dusk, heavy and sweet, pulling your eyelids down with the weight of its chemistry. From the orchard we travel north, far north, to the frozen forests of Alaska, to witness a miracle of suspension that makes our sleep look active. We look to the wood frog. This tiny creature performs a magic trick that defies the laws of life. When the winter comes, it does not just hibernate, it freezes solid. Visualize the frog burrowing under a layer of leaves. As the frost penetrates the ground, the frog's heart stops beating. Its blood stops flowing. It becomes a small frog-shaped ice cube. To the observer, it is dead. But inside, a high concentration of glucose acts as a natural antifreeze, protecting the vital cells from bursting. It is in a state of suspended animation, waiting for the spring thaw. It surrenders its heartbeat to the cold. It trusts that the warmth will return. While you do not need to freeze, you can borrow this profound stillness. Visualize your heart slowing down, not to a stop, but to a slow, rhythmic thud. Visualize your thoughts freezing in place, crystalline and still. You're entering your own winter, a temporary stasis where you do not need to be alive to the world, only to the pilot light burning deep within, waiting for the morning to thaw you back into motion. Thawing slowly from the ice, we find ourselves in the warm, dusty aisles of an ancient library. We breathe in a scent that many find inexplicably sleepy, the smell of old books. This aroma has a name, biblical. But the chemistry is what matters. As the paper and ink age, they break down into a compound called lignin, which is related to vanillin. Visualize opening a leather-bound book that hasn't been touched in 50 years. The pages are yellowed and brittle. As you fan them, a puff of air escapes. It smells of vanilla, almond, and dry grass. It is a scent that triggers a deep associative comfort. It smells of quiet rooms, of whispers, of slow stories. It is the smell of decomposition, but in the most comforting way. Things returning to the earth, turning into soft dust. Let this scent fill your bedroom now. It is a dry, warm, vanilla-laced heavy air. It tells you that the story has already been written. You do not need to write anything tonight. You're just a reader, curling up with the volume of the night, breathing in the comforting perfume of history and silence. In this quiet library of the mind, we observe the shape of the sleeper. We drift to the starfish position. While many curl inward for safety, there is a profound liberation in sprawling outward. Sleeping on your back with arms and legs spread wide is a declaration of safety and a mastery of thermodynamics. Visualize yourself as a starfish on the sandy bottom of the ocean. You extend your arms up towards the pillows, your legs out to the corners of the mattress. You're taking up space. By separating your limbs from your torso, you're opening the radiators of your body, the armpits, the groin, the inner knees, releasing trapped heat into the cool air. It is a cooling posture. But psychologically, it is a power pose of rest. It says, I am safe. I do not need to protect my belly. I own this space. Feel the luxury of extension. Stretch your fingers to the very edges of your reach. Claim the entirety of your bed. You're expanding into the void, uncurling your spirit, unafraid and open to the universe, letting the cool air circulate around every inch of your skin. As we lie open under the stars, we address the oldest cliché of the sleeping world, counting sheep. We have been told to count them, but we have been doing it wrong. The math is too stimulating. The brain engages the logic center to track the numbers. Instead, we must return to the source, the shepherd's watch. Visualize a green, rolling hillside in Ireland or New Zealand. The skies are twilight blue. You are the shepherd. You're not counting, you're simply watching. You see the flock moving like a slow white cloud across the grass. They're grazing, drifting, aimless. Hear the muffled sound of their hooves on the turf, the soft tearing of the grass, the occasional low bleat. It is a scene of absolute pastoral boredom, and that is its power. Do not number them. Just watch the flow of the woolly backs. Watch them jump over a low stone wall, one by one, not because you are counting, but because the motion is rhythmic and repetitive. It is a visual mantra. Let the scene play out without a goal. There is no number to reach. There is only the hill, the grass, and the soft moving white cloud that slowly fills your vision until there is nothing left but soft, white wool. From the wool of the sheep, we look to the wool we wear. We drift to the history of the nightcap. In the days before central heating, the long pointed cap was essential. We lose a significant amount of heat through the chimney of our head. But there is also a sensation of containment that comes with covering the crown. Visualize pulling a soft, loose-knit cap over your brow. It is not tight. It is a gentle hug for the skull. It creates a microclimate of warmth around the brain. But more than warmth, it provides a sense of a lid. It signals that the mind is capped for the night. The thoughts are contained. They cannot fly away into the cold room. Even if you do not wear a hat, visualize a warm, golden light resting on the top of your head, sealing in your energy. It warms the scalp, relaxing the tiny muscles that tighten when we frown or concentrate. Feel that warmth trickling down from the crown, smoothing the forehead, heavying the eyelids, telling the brain that it is safe to power down because the roof is on and the house is warm. Finally, we turn our attention to the background hum of your own mind, the network that comes alive when you stop doing and start being. We drift to the default mode network. This is the scientific name for daydreaming. For years, we thought the resting brain was inactive, but we now know that when you close your eyes and let your mind wander, this specific network lights up like a Christmas tree. Visualize a stream of consciousness river. It is not directed. It flows where it wants. It visits the past. It floats to the future. It circles a song lyric. It replays a conversation. This is not a distraction from sleep. It is the bridge to it. You cannot jump from high-focus work directly into sleep. You must wade through the river of the default mode network. You must daydream. Allow your mind to detach from the anchor of logic. Let it float downstream. If it thinks about a blue elephant, let it. If it thinks about the texture of cake, let it. This wandering is the brain cleaning its house, sweeping the floors before locking the doors. Do not fight the random thoughts. They are the ushers leading you to the exit. Follow them. Let the stream widen and slow until the thoughts become less like words and more like images, dissolving finally into the silent deep ocean of the dream. And as those images dissolve into the deep ocean of the dream, we begin to see the hidden architecture of the night itself. We drift to the concept of the hypnogram. Though you experience the night as a blur of darkness, scientists view it as a magnificent sunken landscape, a canyon system that you traverse every single night. Visualize a chart that looks like a city skyline inverted, hanging down from the ceiling of consciousness. When you first close your eyes, you're standing on the high plateau of wakefulness. As you drift off, you step down the first ledge into light sleep. Then you descend the steep cliffs into the deep, dark valley of slow wave sleep. This is the canyon floor. It is silent here. It is where the restoration happens. You walk this valley floor for a while and then you begin the climb back up the mountain, rising toward the jagged peaks of REM sleep, where the air is thin and the dreams are vivid. You do not just fall asleep, you go mountaineering. You descend and ascend these peaks and valleys 4 or 5 times a night. Visualize yourself now as a traveller on this journey, slowly rappelling down the face of the cliff, leaving the high altitude of the day behind, lowering yourself inch by inch into the restorative shadow of the canyon where the winds of worry cannot reach you. Down in these depths, we look for a shield, a way to protect our rest from the creatures of the deep. We return to the coral reef to witness the nightly ritual of the parrotfish. This colourful grazer of the reef does not simply hide in a hole, it builds a house out of its own body. Visualize the parrotfish settling into a crevice of coral as the light fades. Slowly, from a gland in its mouth, it begins to secrete a clear, gelatinous mucus. It spins this substance around itself, weaving a transparent, watertight sleeping bag. Within an hour, it is completely encased in a bubble. This mucus cocoon serves a dual purpose. It masks the fish's scent from predators like the moray eel, and it acts as an early warning system. If anything tries to touch the sleeper, the bubble pops, and the fish darts away. Imagine creating this barrier for yourself. Visualize a sphere of clear, protective energy expanding from your chest, wrapping around your body, sealing you inside a capsule of safety. You're visible to the universe, yet untouched by it. You're floating in your own atmosphere, a bubble of sanctuary that filters out the noise and the danger, leaving only the pure, recycled air of peace. Breathing inside this bubble, we notice the rhythm of the lungs themselves. There is a specific breath that acts as the body's emergency brake, a mechanism you perform unconsciously but can harness consciously, the physiological sigh. Visualize the millions of tiny air sacs in your lungs called alveoli. They are like microscopic balloons. When you are stressed or tired, these balloons can collapse and stick together, like a deflated balloon sticking to itself. This reduces the oxygen you can absorb. The physiological sigh is the solution. It is a double inhale, one long breath in, followed immediately by a short, sharp sip of air on top, and then a long, slow exhale. Visualize those sticky alveoli popping open with that second sip of air, inflating fully, maximizing the surface area of your lungs. It creates a physical release of carbon dioxide, the gas of stress. Perform this in your mind now. A deep inhale to fill the chest, a second sip to pop the balloons, and then a long, luxurious exhale that deflates the tension in the shoulders. It is the mechanical reset button of the nervous system, the physical sound of the body saying, "It is over, I am safe." As the breath regulates the internal heat, we look to the external regulation of temperature and the concept of the Scandinavian method. In the cold northern countries, where the nights are long and dark, couples have discovered the secret to sleeping together without conflict. 2 separate duvets. Visualize a large bed shared by 2 people. Instead of fighting over a single sheet, a tug-of-war that disrupts the peace, each person has their own cloud. This is not a separation of hearts, but a respect for thermodynamics. You are an island of heat. Your partner is an island of heat. By having your own duvet, you create a personal microclimate. You can have the cool side all night long. You can wrap yourself into a burrito without exposing the other to the draft. It is the ultimate autonomy within intimacy. Visualize pulling your own personal cloud tight around you. There is no draft. There is no tension. You're sealed in your own thermal envelope, warm and contained, yet still close enough to reach out a hand and touch the one you love. It represents the perfect balance of sleep, alone in your experience but together in the dark. Deep within the muscles that now warm under that duvet, a mineral is hard at work unlocking the tension. We drift to the element of magnesium. It is often called nature's chill pill, but let us visualize it as a key. Every muscle fiber in your body works on a binary system. Calcium binds to proteins to make the muscle contract, and magnesium competes with calcium to make it relax. It is the chemical let go. If you are deficient in this heavy, grounding mineral, your muscles remain in a state of microcontraction, unable to fully unlatch. Visualize this mineral found in dark leafy greens, nuts, and the earth itself. Imagine it as a heavy, dark silt entering your bloodstream. It travels to the tight knots in your shoulders, the clenched muscles of your jaw. It gently pushes the calcium aside, turning the key in the lock. Click. The muscle fiber lengthens. Click. The tension dissolves. Feel this chemical wave of relaxation washing through you, unlatching the doors of your physical form one by one, returning your body to its natural state of soft, fluid heaviness. But even with the muscles relaxed, there is often a strange surge of energy just before bed. We drift to the concept of the wake maintenance zone. You may know it as a second wind, but scientists call it the forbidden zone for sleep. It usually occurs between 8:01 p.m. and 10 p.m, just before the window of rest opens. Visualize the sun. Just before it sets, there is often a final brilliant flare of light, the golden hour. Your circadian rhythm does the same. Just as the sleep pressure is building, your internal clock sends out a strong wake-up signal to counteract it. It is a biological last stand, ensuring you are alert enough to find a safe place to roost before the true dark falls. If you feel this sudden urge to clean the kitchen or answer emails late at night, recognize it for what it is, the last flare of the sun. Do not mistake it for true energy. It is the edge of the cliff. Visualize riding this wave not by doing more, but by observing it, knowing that the drop is coming. The flare will fade, the sun will sink, and when this zone passes, the gate to the valley of sleep will swing wide open. Waiting for us in that valley are the giants of the earth. We return to the African savanna to listen to the slumber of the elephant. These massive beings sleep very little, but when they do, they engage in a communication that happens below the level of human hearing. They utilize infrasound. Visualize a herd of elephants standing in a circle under the starlight. They seem silent, statues of grey stone. But if you could feel the vibration of the ground, you would know they are speaking. They produce a low-frequency rumble that travels through the earth, signaling to other herds miles away. We are here. We are safe. We are resting. This rumble vibrates in the chest. It is a sound more felt than heard. As they sleep, often standing up or leaning against a termite mound, they remain connected to the earth and to each other through this deep seismic lullaby. Imagine you can feel that rumble now, a slow, heavy vibration rising up through the floor, through your bed, and into your bones. It is the heartbeat of the earth itself, a frequency of heavy, ancient peace that steadies your own rhythm and anchors you to the ground. From the deep vibrations of the earth, we move to the phantom vibrations within the mind. We explore the auditory illusion of binaural beats. This is a hack of the brain's processing power, a way to trick the mind into meditation. Visualize putting on a pair of headphones. In your left ear, a tone plays at 400 Hz. In your right ear, a tone plays at 410 Hz. They are slightly different. Your brain, trying to reconcile this discrepancy, creates a third tone, a phantom beat, at exactly 10 Hz. This is the difference between the two. You hear a pulsing wah 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 that isn't actually playing in the music. It is created inside your own auditory cortex. Crucially, 10 Hz is the frequency of alpha waves, the brain state of deep relaxation. Your brain begins to synchronize with this phantom beat. It entrains to the rhythm. Visualize your brain waves smoothing out, aligning with this slow, steady pulse. You're tuning your mind like a radio, dialing out the static of high-frequency stress and locking into the slow, rolling wavelength of the deep ocean. Tuned to this frequency, we adopt the posture of ultimate surrender. We drift to the ancient yogic practice of savasana, or corpse pose. While the name sounds morbid, it is actually a practice of dying to the day so that you may be reborn in the morning. Visualize lying flat on your back, palms facing up, feet falling open. This is the posture of non-resistance. In this state, you're asked to do nothing. You're not sleeping yet. You're practicing the art of letting go. You scan your body, acknowledging every sensation but holding on to none. You're releasing the identity of the doer, the person who worked, who spoke, who worried. That person is being laid to rest for the night. Visualize a heavy, warm sand pouring over your body, filling the spaces between your fingers, weighting down your eyelids. You're becoming inanimate. You're becoming part of the floor. There is no effort required to be a corpse, no effort required to be the earth. It is the ultimate relief of duty. You're simply matter. suspended in gravity, waiting for the spirit of the dream to pick you up. And as the spirit lifts you, you may experience a strange and convincing trick of the mind, the false awakening. You dream that you have woken up. You get out of bed, brush your teeth, perhaps even start your coffee. The details are perfect. The light in the kitchen is correct. The taste of the toothpaste is real. Then suddenly you wake up again realizing you were still asleep. This is not a glitch. It is a testament to the incredible power of your brain's simulation engine. It can reconstruct your reality with such high fidelity that you cannot tell the difference. It reveals that the world you see with your eyes open is constructed by the same neurons that build your dreams. The line is thinner than you think. Instead of being frustrated by this, marvel at it. Visualize your mind as a master architect, capable of building a perfect replica of your sanctuary. It means that even when you are asleep, you are so in love with your life, so tethered to your routine, that you practice living it even in the void. Accept the illusion. It is just another layer of the onion, another veil to walk through as you drift deeper into the mystery of the self. And as we marvel at the mind's ability to construct a perfect replica of reality, we notice how permeable the walls of that simulation truly are. We drift now to the phenomenon of dream incorporation. The sleeping brain is not a sealed vault. It is an improvisational director, constantly taking cues from the physical world and weaving them instantly into the narrative of the dream. Visualize yourself sleeping deeply while a gentle rain begins to tap against the window pane. In the dream, you are not lying in bed. You're suddenly standing by a waterfall or walking through a mist-filled forest. The brain hears the tapping, identifies it, and rather than waking you up, it writes the sound into the script. It disguises the intrusion to protect your sleep. If a fire engine wails in the distance, you might dream of a marching band. If the temperature drops and your feet get cold, you might dream of walking barefoot in the snow. This is the brain's act of diplomacy. It negotiates with the sensory world, saying, I will accept this input, but I will paint it with the colours of the dream so the sleeper remains undisturbed. Marvel at this creativity. You're storytelling in real time, taking the chaotic noise of the world and harmonising it into the symphony of your subconscious, ensuring that the show goes on without interruption. As the show eventually nears its end and the curtain begins to rise, we enter the mirror image of the twilight zone we visited earlier. We drift to the hypnopompic state. While the hypnagogic state leads us into sleep, the hypnopompic state leads us out. It is the misty bridge between the dream and the morning. Visualize a swimmer slowly surfacing from the deep. The water is becoming lighter, turning from black to blue to gold. In this state, the logic of the dream often lingers like a fog over the waking mind. You may open your eyes and see the geometric patterns of the dream still projected onto the ceiling. You may hear a voice calling your name that fades as you sit up. This is not a cause for alarm. It is simply the brain's projector cooling down. The two reels of film, the dream and the reality, are overlapping for a brief, beautiful moment. It is a time of profound emotional residue. You may wake up feeling a sadness or a joy that belongs to a story you can no longer remember. Allow yourself to linger in this morning mist. Do not rush to wipe the lens clean. It is a reminder that you are a traveller returning from a distant land, and the dust of that journey still clings to your coat. From the lingering visions of the human eye, we shift our gaze to the riverbank, to observe a mastery of group safety. We look to the mallard duck. While we have spoken of the dolphin's ability to sleep with half a brain, the mallard utilises this ability for the good of the community. Visualise a row of ducks sleeping on a floating log. They line up side by side. The ducks in the middle of the row are safe. They close both eyes and fall into full, deep sleep. But the ducks on the ends of the row are the sentries. The duck on the far left keeps its left eye open, watching the water. The duck on the far right keeps its right eye open. They frame the group with vigilance. Their brains are split. The outer hemisphere is awake and watching for predators, while the inner hemisphere, the one facing their friends, is asleep. It is a profound image of shared responsibility. They literally watch each other's backs. Visualize yourself in that line, surrounded by the warmth of others. You are in the middle. You do not need to keep an eye open. The sentries are posted, the perimeter is secure. You can surrender to the deep, two-eyed sleep of the protected, held safely in the center of the flock. Surrounded by the natural safety of the river, we tune our ears to the specific frequency of the wild. We have explored the deep rumble of brown noise and the hiss of white noise, but now we enter the canopy of green noise. This is the sound profile that sits in the middle of the spectrum, mimicking the acoustic qualities of nature. Visualize standing in the center of a dense, ancient forest. The wind is rustling through millions of leaves. It is not a low rumble, nor a high hiss. It is a textured breathing sound. This is green noise. It occupies the frequency range of 500 Hz, the same range as a flowing stream or the ambient hum of a summer garden. It is the frequency of life. Your brain finds this sound uniquely soothing because for thousands of years, this was the soundtrack of safety. Silence often meant a predator was stalking, but the steady rhythmic rustle of the leaves meant the world was calm. Imagine this sound wrapping around you now, a lush, verdant blanket of audio. It is a mossy sound, soft and full of texture, masking the sharp digital noises of the modern world and replacing them with the timeless green lullaby of the earth. From the sounds of the earth, we turn to its flavors, specifically to a small, daisy-like flower that has been steeped in hot water for centuries. We drift to the sensory experience of chamomile. The name itself comes from the Greek chamemelon, meaning earth apple, because of its sweet apple-like scent. Visualize a ceramic cup steaming on a bedside table. Inside, the dried flowers are rehydrating, releasing their golden oils. This is not just a warm drink, it is a chemical key. Chamomile contains an antioxidant called apigenin. Visualize these tiny molecules floating through your bloodstream like golden dust. They travel to the brain and gently bind the benzodiazepine receptors, the very same locks that anti-anxiety medications target. But the touch of the flower is gentle. It does not force the door shut. It simply oils the hinges. It reduces the static of the nervous system. Imagine the taste, mild, floral, and slightly sweet, coating your tongue. As you swallow, visualize the golden warmth spreading through your chest, a liquid form of sunshine that melts the icy grip of stress, turning the anxious energy of the day into a soft, warm haze. Leaving the garden, we travel to the icy waters of the Arctic Circle to witness a feat of sleeping buoyancy. We look to the walrus. Look, these massive creatures, weighing thousands of pounds, face a challenge: how to sleep in the water without sinking and drowning. They have evolved a biological life vest. Visualize a walrus bobbing in the freezing sea. It takes a deep breath and inflates a pair of elastic pouches located in its throat, called pharyngeal pouches. These pouches fill with air, expanding like balloons. With these internal buoys inflated, the walrus can simply let go. Its head is held above the water by the air pressure, allowing it to bob vertically like a cork. It can sleep this way for hours, rocking gently in the swell. Visualize this sensation of absolute buoyancy. You do not need to tread water. You do not need to swim. You have an internal lightness that holds you up. Imagine your pillow as that pouch of air, lifting your head, supporting the heavy weight of your skull so that your neck can completely release. You are unsinkable. You are held by the physics of the water and the air, drifting safely in the cold, clear ocean of the night. From the bobbing ice, we retreat to the warmth of the timber and stone that shelters us. We drift to the auditory comfort of the house settling. Late at night, when the lights are out and the world is still, you may hear a creak, a pop, or a gentle groan from the walls around you. Far from being spooky, this is the sound of the house relaxing. During the day, the sun heats the roof, the wood beams and the pipes, causing them to expand and tense up. As the night cools the air, these materials contract. They shrink back to their resting state. The house is literally exhaling. Visualize the structure around you as a living entity that has held its breath all day against the heat and the activity. Now it is letting it out. The floorboards are stretching their legs. The beams are settling their shoulders. Every creak is a sign of release. It is a symphony of decompression. Listen to it with affection. It is the sound of a safe shelter wrapping itself tighter around you against the cold. A mechanical sigh that says the work of the day is done, the heat is gone, and it is time to be still. In this settling house, as the shadows lengthen, we invite in the ancient personification of our journey. We drift to the myth of Morpheus. In the old stories, he was not the god of sleep, but the god of dreams, specifically the shaper of forms. His name comes from the Greek word morphe, meaning form or shape. Visualize a figure moving silently through the dark, carrying a handful of red poppies. He does not bring darkness, he brings imagery. He is the artist of the night. While his brothers brought the deep oblivion or the nightmares, Morpheus was the sculptor who crafted the human forms you see in your dreams, the faces of loved ones, the hands of strangers. He is the one who gives shape to the mist. Imagine him standing at the foot of your bed, not as an intruder, but as a master craftsman. He is taking the clay of your memories and shaping it into the beautiful, strange statues of your nightly visions. He is the reason your dreams have texture and face. Welcome his artistry. He is the curator of your internal gallery, painting the canvas of your mind with the soft, surreal shapes that will entertain you while your body rests. As Morpheus shapes the dream, your physical body maintains a secret, invisible map of itself. We drift to the concept of proprioception in sleep. Have you ever wondered why, even though you toss and turn, you rarely fall out of bed? Even in the deepest unconsciousness, a part of your brain retains a precise grid of where your limbs are in space. Visualize a glowing 3D wireframe of your body hovering in the dark. This is your body schema. Your brain knows exactly where the edge of the mattress is. It knows that your left foot is near the precipice and commands the leg to pull back, all without you ever waking up. It is a silent, protective navigation system. You're being piloted by a ghost captain who knows the boundaries of the ship. This sense of proprioception creates an invisible guardrail. You can trust your body to stay within the safe harbour of the bed. You do not need to hold yourself still. You can let go completely, knowing that the internal map is active, that the radar is sweeping, and that you will be kept safely on the island of the mattress, away from the fall. Finally, we turn our gaze to the window, to a garden that wakes up only when you go to sleep. We look to the moonflower. While most of the botanical world bows its head to the sun, closing its petals when the light fades, the moonflower, Ipomoea alba, begins its work at dusk. Visualize a vine climbing a trellis outside your window. Hanging from it are tightly furled cones, pale and waxy. As the sun vanishes and the first stars appear, these cones begin to tremble. In a motion fast enough to be seen with the naked eye, they spiral open, revealing a magnificent, pure white trumpet. They release a sweet, heavy perfume specifically designed to attract the moths of the night. They are the guardians of the dark. They thrive in the shadows. They remind us that the night is not a dead time, but a different kind of life. There is beauty that requires darkness to bloom. There are scents that only rise when the air is cool. As you close your eyes, visualize these white trumpets opening in your mind, unfurling their petals in the moonlight, a silent explosion of beauty that stands watch over the garden while the rest of the world sleeps. And finally, we arrive at the center of the labyrinth, the 101st truth that binds all the others together. We drift to the concept of the daily rebirth. We often view sleep as a maintenance cycle, a time to file memories or repair muscles, but the deepest truth is far more profound. Sleep is the mercy that allows us to begin again. Visualize the person you were this morning. That person carried the specific frustrations of the traffic, the specific hunger of the afternoon, the specific worries of the evening. If we did not sleep, If we carried that accumulation of self continuously for weeks or years, the weight would be crushing. The mind would shatter under the unbroken continuity of existence. But nature has granted us a profound gift, the ability to dissolve. When you enter the deepest phases of sleep, the I, the ego, the name, the history fades away. You return to the factory settings of the soul. You become simply life, breathing in the dark. This is the ultimate magic trick of biology. You lay down as one person, worn and heavy, and through the alchemy of the night, you are dismantled and reassembled. The consciousness is turned off, the slate is wiped clean of the emotional debris, and you are granted a fresh start. Every morning is a reincarnation. Every dawn is a new life in miniature. You're not a single, continuous line of exhaustion. You're a series of fresh starts stitched together by the velvet thread of rest. As you lie here now, you're not just ending a day. You're preparing to be born anew. You're shedding the skin of the past 12 hours. You're handing over the heavy keys of your identity to the night, trusting that they will be returned to you in the morning, polished and light. The river has now widened into the sea. The current has slowed to a standstill. We have travelled through the forests of the mind, dived into the oceans of the body, and flown through the skies of the spirit. We have witnessed the sleeping bees in their flowers, the whales in their deep blue cathedrals, and the stars turning overhead. All of these images, all of these facts, are no longer things to be learned. They are simply stars in the sky of your mind, twinkling softly, watching over you. There is nothing left to know. There is nothing left to visualize. The library is closing its doors. The lights in the hallways are dimming one by one. The projector is winding down. The boat has reached the open water where there is no horizon, only the gentle rhythmic lap of the water against the hull. Feel the silence settling over you like a fine, soft dust. The weight of your body is now the weight of the earth. Your breath is the tide, rising and falling, with no effort, no will, no direction. You're simply here, you're safe, you're held. The journey is over, and the destination has been reached. It is this quiet, it is this dark, it is this peace. Let the words fade away now. Let the concepts dissolve into the mist. You are part of the great slow rhythm of the universe, a rhythm that has no beginning and no end. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.